Emily Henry has just released a new book, Great Big Beautiful Life, and I'm so looking forward to reading it. I've actually not read an Emily Henry book before. I see so many people speaking about her book, saying how great her writing is, how good the stories are, and her books have been on my TBR for a little while now. And when I found out that she was releasing a new book this month, I thought rather than start any of her other books, I would wait and make my first Emily Henry read her new release, which I'm really excited about. It's always really nice, I think, when there's a new release and everybody is kind of reading the same book at the same time. It feels like a big book club and it's really fun. I've already seen videos on TikTok of people picking the book up and starting to read it, and it's just really lovely to be a part of that. So I'm very glad that I saved my first Emily Henry read to be this one. I am reading the book on my Kindle. I pre-ordered it when I knew it was being released this week and it's already there and ready to go on my Kindle. The weather is lovely, so I think this afternoon it'll be perfect for reading in the garden, and it's just going to be a really lovely day. I'm excited to share my thoughts on this book with you, and I'm really glad to be reading this book on release week. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy reading along and let's have a lovely day or so reading together. So before I start reading, let's have a little look at the plot summary. Great Big Beautiful Life follows Hayden and Alice. Both writers are invited to the place where famous heiress Margaret Ives lives. From what I've heard, she is very famous. She has a really interesting plot twisty history that's very mysterious, and the description of the book actually says that she is famously reclusive. So it's quite a big deal when both of the writers think they're headed to meet Margaret to write her biography for her. Alice sees it as a really big break and a chance to kind of prove herself to her family, and Hayden is an award-winning author who is pretty sure that he's writing this biography and it's a big moment for him as well. Essentially, when they get there, they realise that things aren't quite as they seem. It's proposed that both of them have a 1-month trial period where they have to unearth the story of Margaret. But the problem is that she is only giving both of them certain pieces of information, and because they both signed an NDA, they can't tell each other, they can't kind of pull the puzzle pieces together. It also says here that it's because of the NDA, but also an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. So essentially what I'm understanding from the book description is that not only are we following the two writers, but we're also following their relationship and how that develops. So it sounds like a really good plot. I also just can't wait to see Emily Henry's writing style. I just have heard so many good things. I can't believe I've never picked up a book from her before, but I'm really excited that this will be my first one and I just can't wait to read it. So let's get cozy and let's start this book together. So I have just finished chapter 6 of the book and so far so good. I'm really excited to see where this story goes. One thing I'm really liking about it is how different the two main characters, Hayden and Alice, are from one another. Alice is really quite an open person. She's very smiley, she's very kind of positive, and I feel like Hayden might have the potential to be like that as well, but he's much more reserved. We don't know too much about him at all because of that. It's also written from Alice's perspective, so we're really seeing her thoughts, whereas he's still a little bit of a mystery. It's really interesting because they're having these moments so far where, so for example, they've gone out for breakfast and they're having a moment where they're kind of getting to know each other a little bit more, but then the topic of the book comes up, things go back to being more distant and reserved between them. So it's really interesting that they're kind of getting along, and in another circumstance they might have been really good friends or instantly gotten along really well, but then both competing to write this book is a real restriction on that, and it's just a really interesting part of the dynamic. Also, Margaret seems like a really warm, likeable character, so I'm really interested to see more about her as well. I feel like there's a lot of things that have happened in her life that people kind of know the headline but maybe don't know too much more, so I'm quite excited for when both Alice and Hayden start meeting with her and find out more. So far so good. I really like the two main characters, which I always think is great at the start of the book. I really am finding them both very interesting, and also Margaret as well. Just everyone we've met I'm finding a really intriguing, interesting character. Now I've decided it's such a lovely day, like I mentioned, that I want to spend a little bit of time in the garden. A couple of weeks ago we got some bulbs and some seeds and things like that. I've literally been meaning to do something with those for weeks and I haven't, so I thought whilst the weather's nice I will do that, and I thought it'd be a really nice opportunity to listen to the audiobook. I really like to incorporate listening to the audiobook in the experience of reading a book. I actually usually would start off a book by immersive reading, which I'm not sure what I haven't done today actually, because I really enjoy that as a way of getting immersed in the book and getting into the kind of new world of a new book that I'm reading. But either way, whether I do that at the beginning or not, I always tend to listen to a part of the audiobook at some point along the way of reading a book. I really just enjoy audiobooks as part of the reading experience, so that's my plan. Sun keeps going in and out, but I think hopefully it should stay sunny enough over the next hour or so to spend some time in the garden and listen to the audiobook. I am just in the middle of listening to chapter 10, and one thing I've loved about the couple of chapters that I've just listened to is that we've started to flash back in time when we have started to hear Margaret's story. I'm so interested in Margaret's story because I'm wondering, I don't know if this is the case, but I'm wondering if her story will link up to the story that we're following with Hayden and Alice, and whether there's any sort of either similarities or kind of direct links between the two, because it's kind of reminding me when Margaret is telling her story of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I really liked in that book how modern day was connected with the story of Evelyn Hugo and how all that came together. I just really enjoyed that part of the book, so I'm wondering whether something similar is going to happen with Margaret's story and modern day. I'm just very interested in that. I don't know, there might be nothing in that. I think it's only because I've read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo that I'm thinking that. I'm also really enjoying when we're focusing on Alice and Hayden's relationship. I'm really liking how they're kind of gradually getting to know each other over time, and like I said earlier, because there's a hesitation for them to get too close because they don't want to tell each other too much about their own interview processes with Margaret. It's a really interesting part of their dynamic. Yeah, I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm really interested to learn more about Margaret's backstory. I feel like there's a lot to learn and a lot she's maybe holding back or not quite telling the truth in some parts. It's just really interesting. I can't wait to hear more about that. So I guess back to reading. I feel like I've timed it quite well actually, because if I say so myself, because the sun's just gone in now, so it's perfect time to get comfy and get back to reading. After having read a little bit more yesterday and also listening to some more of my audiobook on the way back from work, I am now 77% of the way through. I'm on page 324 of 418, so I'm so close to the end. One thing I'm really loving about this book is the fact that we are flicking between storylines of Alice and her career and her relationship and dynamic with Hayden, and also Margaret and her whole backstory. Margaret's story is a lot more mysterious. You're kind of trying to figure out what's going on and where's the story going, why is she wanting to write it down in a book, and it feels like there's going to be quite a few twists and turns. There's a bit of foreshadowing in the book that makes you feel like that throughout Margaret's story, and so I'm really looking forward for the last section of this book to kind of delve into those twists and turns a little bit more. There's such different storylines, Alice's and Margaret's, and I also really like that Margaret's storyline is happening in a completely different decade. I think it's around the 50s, and it's really fun when there are references to people like Elvis or film stars and famous people of the time, and I really like that aspect of the book and how different the storylines feel from one another. I'm really intrigued now by the last section of this book because I feel like I've got a lot of questions that I can't wait to be answered. Whether it's Margaret and her storyline, I'm particularly interested in why she became so reclusive, and also in Margaret's sister as well. I'm really interested to hear more about her storylines. Actually quite a few plot points I'm really looking forward to seeing where they end up, but also in Alice's timeline I'm really interested to see who gets to write the biography. There's also quite a lot of intrigue about why the book is being written at all, and I'm interested to see more of Margaret's reasoning and also more of why she decided to have kind of an audition process for both authors. I feel like there's more of a reason behind that than we have been led to believe, or Alice and Hayden have been led to believe in the book. I just feel like there's so much to be revealed in the last section of this book. I can't wait. I'm going to get cozy, get comfy, get out of my work clothes and read hopefully the last section of this book. I'm hoping to finish it tonight, so fingers crossed, because I just really want to see what happens. Okay, I've got about 10% left on the story. We've had a couple of pretty major reveals in the last couple of chapters which have been so good. One thing that I really like about thrillers, which is a genre that I've been reading more, I know this isn't a thriller, but one thing that I've really been enjoying about thrillers is the kind of plot twists, especially towards the end of the book, and I feel like there being plot twists towards the end of this one, and I feel like there's still more to be revealed, is something that I'm really enjoying. So we're kind of at a point now where we've pieced most things together, but there's still a missing link, and I think it's all about to get wrapped up in this, well I hope so, in this last 10%. I'm just absolutely loving this. The writing style is amazing and the whole structure of the book has been so good and added so much to the story and made the reveals that we've just read brilliant. I'm just absolutely loving this book. I really have no guesses on what is going to happen, which I think is a pretty good place to be in before reading the last few chapters of the book. So I'm on chapter 32. I'm just going to sit here and finish this book and see where it goes. There's so much to say about this book. Those last few chapters were so good. I really didn't see the twists and turns coming. I really loved this book. So good. Oh my goodness. I really enjoyed that. That has just made me really want to read more books by Emily Henry because the way that was written and the characters. I'm going to share my full review, my full thoughts with you in the morning, which will be in like a minute's time. I want to make sure I've gathered my thoughts and say everything that I want to say about this book. But initial thoughts of this book is that I absolutely loved it. It's going to be a very positive review in the morning because everything about it I really thoroughly enjoyed. There is so much to say about this book, so I've made myself a cup of tea and I thought we could sit down and chat all about it together. The first thing that I really loved about this book was the structure. I mentioned it a little bit before, but the fact that we were flicking between Margaret's perspective and Alice's perspective worked so well. I'm gonna have to put this tea down to chat. In Margaret's life, there was a little bit more of a mysterious element, so you were trying to figure out what was going on and what had happened throughout her life as she was telling the story. But then in Alice's perspective, you had a little element of that as well, but you also paired that with a bit of romance and talking about her career and her family as well. And I think the structure of flicking between both of those perspectives meant that lots of those themes and lots of themes in general could be discussed throughout this book. I also really like the flicking between perspectives because it really keeps me hooked and keeps me reading. I'm not only reading the next chapter because I really want to know what's happening in that perspective, but also because I know the chapter after that is going to go back to the perspective that might have just left us on a bit of a cliffhanger or a bit of a mysterious note, and I really want to know what happened. So it just keeps me reading and really keeps me hooked. I also really liked the character developments and the kind of unpicking of our main characters in this book. I liked how not only did we get a real sense of who our characters were, we also really got to understand why and what had led them to feeling certain ways. I just felt like I really knew the characters and appreciated who they were, and it made it really great because as the storyline developed and as things were revealed or certain plot points happened, you really begun to understand why certain characters were reacting certain ways, and I really liked that deeper look at the characters throughout the book. I also have to say that if you have read and enjoyed The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which is a book that I absolutely loved, I really feel like you would enjoy this book. It has a very similar feel to it because it's also a book about somebody who goes to speak to somebody else and write down their life story, and it also has the same structure that I really enjoy of flicking between two perspectives. This is also, like I've mentioned, the first book by Emily Henry that I've ever read, and the writing style and the way she brought the story and the characters to life has definitely made me want to read more books by her. I would actually love to know if you've read any of the books and which you would recommend I read next, or whether there's a certain order that you'd recommend reading them in. I would really love to know because I feel like over the next couple of months I'm definitely going to be picking up a good few Emily Henry books. In terms of my rating for this book, I think it's going to have to be a 5-star. I just absolutely loved so much about this book. I think it's also a book that I would recommend to a lot of people. I just think a lot of people would enjoy it. Not only is the structure and the writing and the character development so good, but also there are just a lot of themes explored. So there's romance, there's family dynamics, career, and so many more. And because there are so many themes discussed, and I feel like all discussed very well within this book, I think it's a book that a lot of people would enjoy. I'm really glad I decided to film reading my first Emily Henry book because it turned out to be a 5-star read, and I just think it's really nice to document a 5-star read or to chat about a book that you've really been loving. So I'm really glad it's one that I absolutely loved and I got to chat to you all about it today. I would love to know if you've read this book or if you're planning on reading it. I know it's still pretty new, just being released this week. So are you planning on reading it? Have you read it? Let me know your thoughts, and please do let me know of your Emily Henry recommendations because I'm so keen to read more of her books. And thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed, and I hope you have a lovely day and week ahead of you, and I will chat to you again next week.